Hey, so I can't sleep, so I figured I'd try making some videos again. So this time I'll be playing Magic Online instead of Hearthstone, just because I've been having more fun playing this game the past couple of days. Um, yeah, and it's largely just because I really enjoy playing this deck, and I've been excited about just making it better. Um, and yeah, so uh, this is like just a Grixis Delver deck in Modern, and the goal is just to play one of these cheap undercosted creatures, Snapcaster Mages excluded, and then present like just enough disruption to keep the opponent from killing you up until your threat wins the game. And then you've got just a couple cantrips to enable your threats, because Delver needs spells to function, and the Tasker and Gurmag Angler need full graveyard, and Young Pyromancer needs spells as well. So yeah, I think there's a couple things about my list that are relatively unique that I think are significant improvements over the stock list. The first is that I have a 19th land, and I think my mana base is a lot better. I'm playing Darkslick Shores and a Creeping Tar Pit, where most people are playing just more fetch lands. So my mana base is significantly less painful, both because I have these extra dual lands, and because which let me in turn and which also just let me fetch for basics rather than shock lands. And yeah, the 19th land, I think like most lists have 18, and I think that's just at least one too few. And I've got only 3 Jataxian probes to make up for the fact that I have a 19th land, and also just because it's very awkward to draw this card in multiples. And then I've added Thoughtseize as the main deck, which I think are just really good, like too good not to play. And I have fewer counter spells, which I think are just a bit too clunky in Modern. But other than that, it's fairly standard. It's just really powerful, and there's not a lot of people who are playing decks that are like particularly hateful to you right now. So I think this is like just a really good deck to play in Modern right now, like really powerful and interesting. The other thing that I think is better on my list is the sideboard. Like most people just have like a lot of like random cards in their sideboard, like Blood Moons and like Vandal Blasts and like random counter spells like Counter Fluxes that can't possibly be good against anything. And instead I have just a couple of cards, mostly one-ofs. I've got these 2 cards again for these 3 cards, I guess, for Lingering Souls. Just because I think that's one of the main problems this deck has, and I think Batterskull is actually a particularly inspired solution, just because it's good even in the games where they don't have Lingering Souls, whereas these cards can both be relatively weak. Explosive's less than Staticaster, but still to some extent. Just because the main problem with Lingering Souls for this deck is that you have a lot of trouble racing it and you can't answer it. But the tokens are like irrelevant in themselves. Like your creatures are much bigger for the most part, or they don't actually get into combat like the Young Pyromancer. And so the fact that when the Batterskull comes down, they can no longer race. It just changes the game in a very fundamental way. It just eliminates the problem. I have the one Rending Volley more for Restoration Angel decks than for Splinter Twin, because Twin usually bores out their combo against you, but it's still fine there. Dragon's Claws for burn. Kolaghan's Commands, I think this card is catching on more and more now, but this card is just so unbelievable. The Destroy an Artifact mode is really relevant because it lets you put an answer in your deck for cards like Batterskull and Vidalcan Shackles that would otherwise totally destroy you without actually diluting your threat density, because the other modes on this card are also just very fine. Returning like Snapcaster from your graveyard to your hand is great, as is like making your opponent discard a card is fine, and just dealing 2 damage to target creature or player is like very relevant. And so just this lets you board in a narrow answer to specific problematic cards that's just never dead. So yeah, this card has really impressed me. I had started with 1, and then I just realized I just basically always wanted to draw it, and so I've been happy with 2. Shadowstorm is just, again, it's like similar, just like a single powerful card against Affinity. And then I've just got this Disruption package I board in against combo decks just to have just additional answers to problematic threats like Karn or Wormcoil Engine or what have you. These are the weaker slots. I think there's probably a better way to approach these 5 slots, but I'm not sure what it is, so they are what they are for the time being. I've been like acceptably happy with this distribution. But yeah, so let's play some games.